This is BTV News at 9 o'clock, coming to you live from the capital, Gaborone. I am Khomotso Mapani. Let's take a look at the headlines. Okay, as we move on with the news, government's move to prioritize infrastructure development has been hailed by financial experts. More than 730,000 Botswana registered to vote. And in sports, Nigeria and South Africa go into extra time after a 1-1 draw. Murupule Mine Chief Executive Officer Mr. Edwin Elias says Botswana is an ideal location to facilitate ease of movement and commerce within the SADC region, given its position within the corridors connecting various countries. Mr. Elias also called on potential investors to tap into opportunities presented by Botswana's rich mineral endowment and best mining practices. He was speaking at a breakaway session which discussed the value of Africa's transport and logistics sectors at the ongoing mining endeavor in Cape Town, South Africa. Utsidile Unkabetsi.
Botswana's population size and landlocked status need not present challenges but opportunities. Such a perspective has seen her progress over the years and adopt a more suitable narrative, which has repositioned her and given her visibility in having a more favorable investment climate in the mining value chain.
Establishment of all these SADC corridors, the Trans-Kalahari, the Mamabule link, and the other one that connects onto the Zambia. You know that we did construct the Kazungula Bridge. All these corridors does demonstrate that Botswana is an ideal place that should be able to facilitate trade within the SADC region. And therefore, obviously, for the investors who have got interest in ensuring that they can participate and invest in Botswana, rest assured that Botswana is stable, democratic, and a very good country for investment.
Botswana also recognizes the value of ensuring proper logistical framework is optimized to get value for her mineral endowments.
We do have over 200 billion reserves of coal, but the bulk of that coal is really unexploited. So we do have an opportunity to grow that portfolio. So there is a clear growing demand around coal. But other than that, we are also seeing a rise in demand in other commodities as well. Be it copper, be it iron ore, be it soda ash, be it chrome, sand, or petroleum products. Therefore, you will see that looking at all these products, the logistics solution actually needs to be done.
Key players in the mining value chain hold the need for the continent to collaborate and optimize the region's mineral wealth and, by extension, prioritize its logistical value chains.
Sort of an odd thing that happens or needs to happen more to be able to make more rail projects successful, which is that as miners, you need to talk to your competitors. These types of discussions are really essential in being able to unlock some of that value in the ground and also be able to invest in more track and to be able to transform more economies.
What does the national rail policy intends to do? Its primary vision is basically to reposition rail as an affordable, competitive, reliable and sustainable transport mode.
Botswana's population forms a significant fraction of Africa's over 1.4 billion and growing population, which faces an overwhelming demand and need for organized logistics and transport services, which will be pleasantly addressed by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which will provide sustainable solutions to Africa's logistics industry. Utsidile Unkabetsi, BTV News, Cape Town, South Africa.
The senior officials plenary meeting of the fourth session of the Botswana-Zimbabwe Binational Commission held in Maun came to a close today ahead of the ministers' meeting tomorrow. Permanent secretaries from both countries expressed satisfaction with the outcome of the deliberations and are expected to present them to their ministers for consideration. The ministers' meeting will be followed by a jointly coordinated business forum to be convened Thursday by the Botswana Investment Trade Center and Zim Trade. President Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi and his counterpart, President Emerson Mnangagwa, will then co-chair the fourth session of the Binational Commission on Friday in Maun.
The past 2 days accorded us an opportunity to review progress towards implementation of agreed commitments emanating from our third BNC that was held in Victoria Falls in February 2022. Let me thank committee co-chairs for their sterling work in directing proceedings of the different committees. I also commend senior officials for the hard work that has enabled us to produce a quality report for consideration and adoption by our ministers. It is encouraging to note that our resolve to address issues of mutual interest within this cooperation framework remains steadfast. There are a number of issues that require us to redouble our efforts towards their implementation, particularly in relation to the instruments of cooperation that are still pending.
We have made significant advances towards expanding the scope of the bilateral exchange between our two countries in various fields of common interest. We can all be proud of the report we are going to deliver to our ministers during the ministerial segment of this BNC session. Co-chair, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most notable achievements of our senior officials meeting was undoubtedly the clearance of a number of outstanding agreements and memorandums of understanding.
Government's commitment to prioritize infrastructure development across various sectors of the economy stands out as a key highlight in this year's budget allocation. The Stanbic Bank head of business and commercial banking, Mr. Lesego Osman, said this in reaction to the budget speech presented by the Minister of Finance, Ms. Peggy Serame, on Monday. Mojadi Mukibelo and Bofelo Mutsumi.
One of the crucial aspects in government's efforts to improve livelihoods is through sustainable development and working tirelessly to improve infrastructure across the country, creating a conducive environment for business startups as well as attracting foreign investment. According to Mr. Osman, infrastructure development contributes to value chain expansion, thereby generating more employment opportunities for all.
Unemployment has been stubbornly high in Botswana, 25% levels. It was great to hear the Honorable Minister talk about Chema, a fund that is purposely, set up to ring-fence the informal sector. One of the biggest challenges is when people are unable to find formal employment, they will then engage in informal employment. And the challenges behind that is often access to finance can be prohibitive. So the setup of this fund, I think, will go a long way in terms of bridging that gap between the informal and formal sector and access to funding for growth, and by default then allow for job creation to happen.
Additionally, the budget is recognized as pivotal driver for the timely execution of numerous government projects.
One of the shortcomings has been the lack of implementation of some of the key projects. There have been delays for various reasons, and government in particular, the Honorable Minister spoke to the fact that they have privatized some of the project management. So that'll be key. Most of the impactful and large projects will, by default, take a longer period to implement, especially if there's quite intensive industrial works that need to happen.
Moreover, the frameworks established by the government to revamp and implement the public-private partnership model are anticipated to significantly bolster the country's economy.
You need a framework, you need to have a structure that really supports PPP for it to be successful. And I think from the Minister's speech, it's clear that government is focused on creating the right framework to make that happen. Some of the key products or projects that we expect to see come out of the PPP space, government has been vociferous around a greener energy mix. As you know, we're highly dependent on thermal or coal-fired power plants at present. The move to solar, there's significant opportunities for a triple P perspective for the private sector and government to collaborate for mutually beneficial projects in that space.
Osman emphasized that this year's budget is inclusive of every citizen of the country, with the expectation that through implementation will result in widespread benefits for all. Mojati Mukibelo, BTV News, Gaborone.
Mr. Homolemo Basile, an economist at FNB, says despite indications that Botswana will be running on a deficit until 2026, the country will not struggle to augment the shortfalls, as it has the potential to explore different funding avenues which could generate the much-needed revenue. This emerged during the FNB's 30th Budget Review Seminar held in Gaborone on Tuesday. And Mabina.
With the Transitional Development Plan almost coming to an end, the race is on to ensure that the backlog of various development projects is eradicated. This has, however, hiked up the government expenditure and subsequently led it to running at a deficit budget. However, experts say the country will manage to sustainably grow its economy and meet the budget through its potential to attract external funding.
There are a lot of projects that need to be pushed through, as well as the increased spending that will also be called on at the commencement of NDP 12. But in terms of Botswana being able to meet this deficit, the country still remains the highest rated sovereign in sub-Saharan Africa, which makes it easier for it to attract concessional funding from multilateral funding partners, as well as the ability for it to also explore other funding avenues.
Making strategic investments and adopting the right mindset change came highly recommended, especially with the government's aspirations to attain high income status by 2036.
One of the biggest policy reforms that will help us transform the economy, finance hale, planning hale. The minister in her speech could talk about strategic investments, HP Antwerp, CTL America, and right now discussions are going on with partners at Botswana Vaccine Institute, for Botswana, asimule go own some of the animal vaccines, IP and patents.
The agricultural sector, with the lion's share of 2.1 billion to help diversify the economy, has the mammoth task removing barriers and establishing effective agricultural value chains.
The value chain needs to be created to ensure that the whole value chain and supply systems actually is also met by very solid logistics or logistics planning. Our solutions in terms of the challenge that's been put forth in this budget review has been that we want to aggregate and build strong partnerships between farmers, suppliers, customers, financiers mostly, and other key partners.
You know, the tendering process seems to favor the briefcase guy. And then the briefcase guy, our research, the briefcase guy wins the tender because he's ticked in all the boxes. And then he goes to Mr. Molo, who's then the manufacturer, and then buys from him, and then there's nothing that is done apart from filling the tender. So our procurement process, from our research, our procurement process must not gravitate towards those people that manufacture.
Stakeholders put the proposed budget under a radar to identify challenges, strengths, and reaffirm their role in ensuring its effectiveness, with the hope that different sectors will harness the available opportunities. Geletleletswe, Somulekai, BTV News, Gaborone.
The Independent Electoral Commission IEC Secretary Mr. Jefferson Siamisang says the voter registration exercise report will be discussed by the Commission, taking into consideration whether to call for supplementary registration. He says so far over 730,000 Botswana have registered to vote. Mr. Siamisang said this during a studio interview with BTV News this morning.
Ke baakanya report ke moka ke editse ke tabo ke go e ba pele my principals ona maloko a the Independent Electoral Commission gore ba te ba decide gore ha le gore nna le supplementary registration e tana leng le gona jang nako e kae re ke so santa se le gore ke ya go se dira ke tswa sa bobedi ka mola o ntseng ka teng kgaitsedi according to the Electoral Act ja ka re heditse ikwadisetso dithopo yana re tshwanetse gore as soon as practicable mo nako e sa hediseng pelo ke tshwanetse gore ke ntshe a roll a resultant from the general voters registration exercise.
In other news, due to discontinuation of checks in 2023 December by Bank of Botswana, Chobe District Council has signed an agreement with Mascom for the disbursement of funds to Ipelegen beneficiaries through the Maizaka platform. The council chairman, Mr. Chimni Mululwane, says that partnership with Mascom is expected to simplify the disbursement of funds and that this is testament to government's efforts in striving towards digitalization and use of technology. Kialeboga Eole reports.
Tautona go supa gore re tshwanetse gore re naakanye le maranyane se supa gore le tsene mo nyalong e boitshepo le council ka gore council go le tsogo la moja Mascom go le tsogo la molema lenyalo e ke dumela gore ke nyalo e ta se go hadiwa ibile re ta ya ta ka diata tse tsopedi ka gore ya no le thogo haditse se le gore re na le challenge le sone
tota leto le re tsereng le lona ke gone gore re dire gore dituelo di kgone gore di nne motho mo ba bereking ba ipelegeng mme ba gaetso le ska la tsa gore re heletse ho ka ra hella ho go na le a lot of other ways le gore rona le lona re kgona gore re tshwaraganye go tlogatsa dituelo tsa batho le ha ba tla ba duela dikanelo tsa mo di-counseling.
The Assistant Minister of Trade and Industry, Ms. Beauty Manake, has implored the Tuli Block farmers to actively participate in developing local standards of good agricultural practices aligned with international standards. Ms. Manake was speaking during a visit to the Lucerne fields, one of the largest producers of carrots and beetroots in the country. Karabo Mulusi reports.
Lucerne fields boasts over 200 hectares of land, over 200 employees work in the fields to produce 8,000 tons of vegetables supplied to the local market annually. The enterprise has shifted to smart organic farming methods in a pioneering move to adopt good agricultural practices.
After harvesting any type of vegetable, then we plant a cover crop, which is quite a few different species of grasses and legumes that we're planting all together. And then once they're about shoulder height, we put the cattle in there and we try to graze off about 2/3 of the crop. And then the last third we work into the soil as a green manure.
We have adopted quite a lot of organic principles on the farm. We use organic fertilizer from OFMB and Gaborone, so it's locally produced. And we've changed a lot of our hard chemicals to more softer approaches and more environmentally friendly products, so that at the end of the day, the product that we deliver to our clients is really, of good quality, doesn't have any chemical residues. I think if there's standards that a farmer can work towards too, you know what is the gap and what you need to do to improve.
Sustainable farming. It's a very good one. Gore le tsone di tshwanetse di dirisiwe sente re reduce ka gore go nna le di residues tse leng gore gongwe ha ba batlisisi ba ntse ba bua di kgona gore di go affecte wena o le motho yo di jang kana sepehela se leng gore ha se tswa ha sa go dija.
The venture has been recognized as a step ahead as the country readies for gazetting of the local good agricultural practices standards aligned to the international instrument.
Ke gore sepe se leng gore se ke di tswa temong
se sale ditsamaiso tse di netehatsang hore moreki ko pheleletsong o ja tse ileng hore di sireletsegile. Mme kana ga re bua ka tshireletsego re simolola re bua ka one mmu, re simolola re bua ka peo. Go botlhokwa gore peo re be re itse gore e tswa kae ke a boleng jo bo ntseng jang. Re bua ka itshireletso ya babereki, a gona le matwana a boiteketso, a gona le di-records, a gona le ko ileng gore dilo tse di storiwa teng ka ha go tshwanetseng gore science e supang gore tshwanetse gore dilo tse di be di storiwa ka teng gore di tswe di ntse di le tsa boleng jo bo go godimo.
Once the local good agricultural practices standards have been gazetted, farmers will be obliged to comply with the main objective of transforming the sector, which is identified as one of the priorities of economic transformation. Karabo Mulusi, BTV News, Tuli Block.
Khosogongwe is standing by to give us the latest in sports. Khosogo.
Good evening, Kamsa. How are you?
I'm well, ma'am. How are you?
I'm awesome, my lady.
Okay.
Yes. Let me give you more updates.
New look, new you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Oh, I love the comment. Thank you so much, Kamuto. And greetings to you all. As she has already mentioned, I'm Khosogongwe, bringing to you BOTSWANA Tonight sports news. And with that, let's get straight into it. As the athletics season kicks off, the All Africa Games and the Paris 2024 Olympics are some of the major spectacles built for the year. On the local scene, preparations are underway for the much anticipated 2024 Botswana Golden Grand Prix, which will be held on the 14th of April in Gaborone. The director of Botswana Golden Grand Prix, Glody Dube, says preparations are on the right track with the final stretch and proceedings and inspections ongoing from athletes at care to technical support, amongst others. Peter De Jaga, technical director from World Athletics, recently inspected the National Stadium track and other related facilities to gauge their readiness for the big event.
And last year I think we used above 7 million. Probably it wasn't enough. Of course, in Nebali, the top athletes, but Ghana Gold, you are saying, indeed, I will bring the best. It's a show. It's no longer a competition. Yeah, no, I think the budget that we are having for this year is plus or minus 15 million. Or, yeah, somewhere there. But surely we haven't closed most of the things. We are behind the schedule, and we are trying to push with our stakeholders to make sure that by next week or during our press conference, we can give them a full report, because it's not that we have been not working. Honestly, most of the things are done behind the scene. That's why we have done a lot, and we are just one of the good things maybe confirm even our first athletes.
I think that the experience that I got from technical officials from Botswana, I worked with them in several competitions through Africa. They are quite knowledgeable and experienced, and I think there's no problem regarding that. They can work in any World Athletics competition that is there. It will be a qualifying event, and from our side, technical-wise, we will give all the support to the athletes. What the weather concerns and other external factors we can't predict, but we will work on it, and we will make sure that we give the best opportunity to the athletes to get their best and to qualify for Olympic Games this year.
Botswana Premier League defending champions Jwaneng Galaxy played to a 0-0 draw against Gaborone United at Jwaneng Galaxy Stadium this afternoon. The results meant that Lesakharepala Dinaledi are still on position 2 and 2 points ahead from local leaders Township Rollers with 2 games in hand, while Moyaholele are on 3rd position. And now wrapping up the Botswana Tonight sports news with AFCON updates. The 2023 AFCON Africa Cup of Nations continues tonight, is ongoing rather, as Nigeria and South Africa go into extra time after a 1-1 draw in the ongoing semi-finals. At 10 p.m, hosts Ivory Coast, who knocked out Mali in a dramatic 2-1 victory on Saturday, take on Democratic Republic of Congo at the Stade Olympique Alassane Ouattara in Abidjan. Democratic Republic of Congo went past Guinea by 3-1 last Friday. And that is all that we had for you from Botswana Tonight Sports News. Until we meet tomorrow, have a blessed night. Now let me bring it back to you, Khomuso, to give you the headlines of tonight. Khomuso.
Thank you so much, Jose. Do we know some of the superstars that would be coming for the Golden Grand Prix?
Well,
an idea, rumor,
it's a surprise.
Something.
It's a surprise. Be patient, Khomuso.
Thank you so much. That was Hosoho Nkwe giving us the latest in sports. Let's take a final look at stories leading the way this evening. Government's move to prioritize infrastructure development has been hailed by financial experts. More than 730,000 Botswana registered to vote. And in sports, Nigeria and South Africa to go into extra time after a 1-1 draw in the ongoing AFCON semi-final. That's all we had for you in our news bulletin this evening. Interpreting in sign language is Topo Taposa. Up next is the weather update.
Hello and welcome to today's weather forecast. I'm Proud Victoria Khosiame. Today we had some very hot to extremely hot temperatures over some areas of Botswana, with highs of around 40 over Jwaneng and 39 over Gaborone. Now let's take a look at the rainfall amounts recorded this morning at 8 a.m. We have 35 millimeters at Kangwa Primary School, 10 at Lambakwena Primary School, 6 millimeters at Masunga Primary School and Tokota Primary School, 5 millimeters at Tolodi Primary School, 3 at Mosojane Primary School, and 2 millimeters at Ruben Motswakai's farm in Tonota. Looking at tonight's satellite image is showing mostly partly cloudy conditions over some areas of Botswana. And for tomorrow, we're expecting mostly partly cloudy conditions countrywide with isolated thunder showers except for the Kalahari district. In the morning, mostly hot temperatures are expected, ranging between 20 degrees over Gaborone and Lepepe to 23 over Khansi, Letlhakane, as well as Selebi Pikwe. And in the afternoon, some very hot temperatures over Ngamiland, Chobe, and Southern District, ranging between 36 over Good Hope, Gumare, and Kasane to 38 over Maung and Jwaneng. But for the remaining parts of Botswana, we're expecting some extremely hot temperatures, mostly of around 39 to 40 degrees Celsius. For Africa cities, we're expecting some fine conditions over Luanda, Cape Town, and Port Elizabeth, partly cloudy conditions over Windhoek as well as Dar es Salaam, and possibility of rain over Nairobi and Antananarivo with highs of 28 over Nairobi. For Northern Africa, we're expecting some partly cloudy conditions over Monrovia, Jamina, as well as Addis Ababa, and fine conditions over Tripolis, Cairo, and Khartoum. But for Rabat, we're expecting possibilities of rain with highs of 24 degrees Celsius. That's the weather forecast. Have yourself a good night.
Welcome to beautiful Botswana, where the warmth of her people and wildlife is welcoming, where the vibrancy of her land echoes in the